Hello everyone. In the following presentation, I will be going through an approach to writing a descriptive essay. In a descriptive essay, the writer describes an experience, a situation, an object, or a person. The purpose is to allow the reader to imagine what is being described as clearly as possible. Writing a descriptive essay is like painting a picture with words rather than telling a story as you would in a narrative essay. In a descriptive essay, you will need to describe what things look, sound, taste, or smell like by using figurative language such as similes, metaphors, and personification to describe one particular moment in time. The following is an approach to help you organize your thoughts in order to write a descriptive essay. My first bit of advice to you is that you always write about something that you have experienced or witnessed yourself, because it is difficult to describe something you know nothing about. By writing about something you have experienced or witnessed yourself, firstly, the content or subject matter of your essay is already established because you already know what happened. If you choose to describe something you have experienced or witnessed, you don't have to spend time trying to come up with the subject matter of your essay. Secondly, and most importantly, by writing from personal experience, it will ensure that your writing is authentic and interesting. Writing that is authentic and interesting will gain the most marks. When you are presented with various topics to choose from, think of a moment in your life that could be related to one of the topics provided. Still in relation to responding to the essay topic, planning is essential. If you don't plan, your essay is most likely to be a mess. This piece of advice is not only relevant to writing a descriptive essay, but it is questions are simply questions to get you thinking about what details you can include in your essay. They do not necessarily need to be answered in chronological order, but they are simply there to help you paint this experience in words. When you picture this moment in your mind's eye, is this moment you are describing in black and white? Is it in color? Is it in both? If your moment in your mind's eye is in color, list all the colors you can picture and circle the most dominant ones. If your moment isn't in color, but rather in black and white, which color, black or white, is more dominant? Which parts of your memory or in your mind's eye are lighter or darker than others? Is the picture in your mind's eye a still photograph, or do you picture any movement? Perhaps there are some aspects of your moment in your mind that are still, but there are other aspects that have movement. If they have movement, is this movement natural? Are some elements sped up or in slow motion? While you are considering the answers to these questions, write your answers down, as this will form the planning of your essay. The next question you can ask yourself is, in the moment of your description, what can you hear? Do you hear voices? If you do, to whom do they belong? Are these voices screaming? Are they compassionate? Are some louder and others softer? What is the tone of these voices? Ask yourself, why do these voices sound like this? Include every sound that you can hear, because this creates context, setting, and location. For example, if I was describing a moment at the beach, I could include the sound of the waves crashing on the sand. I could include the screaming from happy children playing in the water, or the shouts from concerned parents that their children have ventured too far. All of these sounds that I have described are synonymous with the context and create the setting and location of the beach. The next question to consider is, in the moment you are describing, what do you sense or physically feel? What is the temperature in that moment? If I was describing a moment at the beach, I could probably include that it was an extremely hot day. What is the time of day? This also helps to create a picture in your reader's mind. Did your moment you're describing take place during the day, or was it at night? You can also consider where your body was positioned in the moment you are describing. What are you sitting on, or lying on, or leaning against? How does it feel against your body? Referring back to my example about the moment I stepped onto the beach, here I could go into quite a detailed description of how the soft sand slipped through the toes of my bare feet and how I could feel the hot sun rays beating down on my shoulders. The next question here is, can you feel any movement? What I mean here, for example, is like the wind blowing across your face, or the feeling of being in water. Remember that not every single one of these guiding questions will be relevant to the moment you are describing. You need to use your discretion to determine whether each one is relevant to your moment. Don't be tempted here to mention your emotional feelings. We will focus on describing emotional feelings in the next portion of this presentation. In the moment you are describing, what do you feel emotionally? List all the emotions you feel in the moment you are describing and circle the dominant ones. Sometimes you will have conflicting emotions. Mention and describe the conflict in your feelings. Does your feeling have a temperature? For example, an ice-cold hatred or a warm love. Does the dominant feeling you have a place in your body? For example, anger in your fists or a sense of pride in your chest. In the moment you are describing, what do you smell or taste? As I mentioned earlier in this presentation, you can skip these senses if they don't appear in the moment you are describing. This all depends on the context of your memory or the moment you are describing. Once you have listed your keywords underneath each sense in your planning, your first question to yourself most probably is, what do I start describing first? As I have mentioned before, you do not need to structure your essay chronologically according to the list of senses or by only discussing one sense per paragraph. How you choose to describe your moment in time and in what order you will incorporate your various senses is totally up to you. Avoid giving a rambling introduction. Rather go straight into the action. For example, I would not include in my introduction to my essay about the beach that it is the December holidays and that it took my family and I a 6-hour drive to get down to the beach. This would be considered a rambling introduction. Going straight into the action means that I could start my essay with a sentence like, "The grains of sand felt silky against my skin as they moved between the toes of my bare feet." By going straight into the action, you keep the reader captivated. And lastly, the conclusion. Even though I have listed 3 paragraphs in the body of the essay here in this example, remember there is no definite rule of how many paragraphs you need in your descriptive essay, as long as you stick to the rule of 1 idea per paragraph. Try to ensure that the last line of each paragraph links to the first line of the next paragraph to create a smooth transition between your paragraphs. Your essay needs to have a recognizable and linked introduction and conclusion. This means that your essay needs to have a clear introduction and your conclusion needs to clearly tie up the loose ends of your essay. In terms of having a linked introduction and conclusion, consider this example. If you start your essay by describing the sense of smell in your moment you are describing, then end your essay with the sense of smell too. For example, the very first sentence in the introduction of my essay about the beach could be the following. "The smell of the fresh ocean air filled my nostrils as I stepped onto the beach." And perhaps my concluding sentence could be, "The smell of the fresh ocean air is one thing that I will long for when I am back in the confined spaces of the city." What this does is it